everybody, welcome back to a new video. So I know that the angle, the lighting, etc. is a little bit different for this video, but I currently have every single book that I have rated 5 stars flung across my bed. So I do apologise, but that is going to be today's video. I'm going to be going through every book that I've rated a 5 stars. I say every, this is just off my Goodreads, which I started in 2022. So technically it's only books that I've read 2022, 2023 and 2024, but still, whatever. I'm not going to be going in order, I'm literally just going to be picking them up because like I said, they are everywhere at the moment. So I apologise in advance if this video is a little bit chaotic. It is what it is. I've changed the angle of the video already because I didn't like the last one. So, starting off strong, I have Normal People by Sally Rooney. Literally love this book so much. Like, I think about this book. I will admit that I think about the book and the show like as one, like they are intertwined in my head, which definitely is not a bad thing. I feel like if you are bringing out an adaptation of a book, you want people to obviously love it and to relate it back to the book, if that makes sense. But anyway, I just love this book so much. I will say every time I picture of it now, I do just picture Paul Mescal and Daisy Edgar Jones. Not complaining, but this book, the way that it's written, the sort of like realistic relationship, the personal struggles that the characters face, everything just really hit home for me. And I think I've rated this a 5 stars anyway right off the bat, but then again I keep on bringing up the TV show, but then when I went to go and watch the TV show, it kind of like reiterated how much I actually love this book. I really actually want to reread this because I want to go back and annotate it and tab it. This is my favourite Sally Rooney book. I have read a few of the other ones. I've read Conversations with Friends and Beautiful World, Where Are You? Didn't love them as much as this one. So whether she as an author is just not really for me, and this book was like the odd one out, I don't know. I do need to read her most recent book, but regardless, love this one so much. Next up we have 2 books. They are part of a series. We have Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. So these are in the Grishaverse sort of universe by Leigh Bardugo. They're in the same sort of world as the Shadow and Bone books. I struggle to even not recall but to explain what these books are about, especially like if you asked me to tell you what happened in one of the books, I would have no idea. I just know them like as a collective, as a duo. But basically they follow a gang of like thieves, of criminals that have to essentially break into a prison. So they perform like this heist, but you get to learn each individual, and I just loved it. I love the dynamic, I love the plot, everything. I will say that these were some of the first fantasy books that I read as like an adult reader. So whether that had something to do with the fact that I rated them 5 stars, I don't know, but I do still, when I think back on these books, I do still really love them. Maybe we'll have to do like a rereading my 5 stars to see if there's still a 5 stars type video. That might be one for the next year. Then I have A Thousand Splendid Suns, which is one of my like OG 5 stars. Like this was probably the first ever book that I would have rated a 5 star before I even knew what a 5 star was. I have read this book now a total of I think 3 or 4 times. The first time I read it I was about 16, 17 maybe, and my mum had read it, she gave it to me, and I just fell in love. Like I absolutely loved this book so much. It follows a young girl in Afghanistan during the Taliban rule and sort of like her life, her experience as a girl into womanhood. And it is so emotional but so well written that I, obviously at the time I had never read anything like it, and to be honest since I haven't read anything that comes quite close. And since then I've gone on and read it, like I say, another 3 or 4 times. The most recent time was in 2022, which is when I rated it a 5 star officially on my Goodreads. But I love this so much. Like if you ask me one of my favourite books, this will be up there, but I feel like I just don't talk about it enough. Another one of my OG 5 stars back from when I first started to get back into reading is Love and Other Words. This was my favourite romance book for the longest time. So this is like a childhood friends to lovers, which I love, still my favourite trope. It's very cosy, it's very wholesome-ish. You have like a then and now timeline. It's one of those where they stopped talking years ago and you're trying to like figure out why. I don't know what it was about this book, I just absolutely loved it. I loved the coziness, I loved the couple. Like I said, I loved the childhood friends to lovers trope. And yeah, I don't know if this would like compare to the romance books that are like my current favourites, but I do still hold them near and dear to my heart. Then of course I have got the ACOTAR series. So this is a 5-star series for me. Every single book pretty much is a 5-star, apart from A Court of Frost and Starlight, just because it's tiny. It's like a little Christmas holiday special of the ACOTAR series, so there wasn't enough there for me to give it a 5-star, but I still enjoyed that one anyways. But this is one of my favourite series of all time. Love it so much. Think about these characters literally daily. Live in my head rent free. This is my favourite book, but Nesta is... I don't know if I would say she's my favourite character actually, but I very much feel seen by Nesta. I'm a Nesta girl. And just this series as a whole, like I will never forget reading this for the first time, reading this book specifically for the first time. I wish I could erase my memory and reread it again. I would die to read this series for the first time again. And just obsessed. Then we have A Little Life. This is one of my favourite books, yet it's a book that I rarely recommend just because of the subject matter at hand. It has every possible trigger warning you could imagine. It is very heavy, such a heavy book, but so beautifully written. I just loved it so much, and I think about this book a lot, which probably explains why I'm so sad all of the time. But it's unlike anything I've ever read before. It follows 4 friends in New York, but it centres around our main character Jude, who has honestly the most horrendous and traumatic life ever. I would definitely check the content warnings, trigger warnings, all of the topics, etc. before you do go into this book. But I don't even know if I would say it's worth it because of how much this destroyed me. But it is such a stunning, like, beautiful book. Then one of the only thrillers that I've rated 5 stars is Verity by Colleen Hoover. I actually thought there was going to be more coho books in this 5 stars than there was, because let's be honest, everybody used to love a coho book. But this one for me was my favourite. Like, if you were to ask me now, still to this day, which Colleen Hoover book is your favourite, I would always say Verity. I really enjoyed reading this. I do feel like around the time that I read this was when I first started getting back into reading. I hadn't really read many thrillers, and I just love the plot of this. I was gripped, I was hooked, and it spooked me. So what more could you want, really? The only other Colleen Hoover book that I've rated 5 stars, but I actually don't have anymore, like I've got rid of my copy, is It Ends With Us. Of course, a cult classic if you are a Gen Z book girly. And I really did enjoy that book when I read it. I don't think it would be a 5 stars now, but she paved the way. Let's just be real. She did pave the way for a lot of people to get into reading and for the sort of like scope of the book community, but that's a whole nother topic anyways. But they are the 2 Colleen Hoover books that I've rated 5 stars. Around that same era, another one that I rated 5 stars is The Song of Achilles. I loved this book so much. Again, I feel like if a book is beautifully written, then I kind of overlook other things that I probably wouldn't like. Not that there was anything major that I didn't like in this book, but I just mean, like, obviously it centres around war. I don't enjoy reading about war, but the way that this book is written and like the love story and the almost like, you can like feel the yearning. Immediate 5 stars. Like, I just love this. I would love to go back and reread this one actually. Then I have 2 Taylor Jenkins Reid books. I have The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which again, it's like an OG. I did love this one. Really loved it, and like the way that it was written, the story, I feel like I was gagged. It probably isn't even like that much of a crazy storyline, but I just feel like I had not read anything like it at this point. And then a similar sort of vibe is Daisy Jones and the Six. Just the way that this book is even like written in the form of like a transcript, an interview style. I'd never read anything like that, and I love the way that Taylor Jenkins Reid tells a story. So I do love both of these. I'm actually really surprised that Malibu Rising was not on here, because if you ask me, I would probably say that Malibu Rising is my favourite Daisy Jones is my favourite Taylor Jenkins Reid book. So I don't quite know why I didn't rate that one 5 stars, but I'm putting it in here now as like an honorary 5-star. Just slowly piling them up at the back there. Then we have If We Were Villains. This one is like a literary fiction crossed with dark academia. Add a little bit of like a murder mystery type vibe in there. I love this one. It is quite similar to The Secret History, but I preferred this one because I just felt like it wasn't as pretentious. But the vibes of this one were just giving autumn. I feel like I really read this book when I was in the mood for it. But again, like the way that it was written and everything, I absolutely loved it. Very sort of Shakespeare focused, but I have like basic Shakespeare knowledge and I still really enjoyed it, so don't let that put you off. Okay, and then getting to one of my all-time favourites. Like, me and this series have soul ties now. I held a gun to my head, asked me my favourite series, it would probably be this. I love it so much, and that is the Boys of Tommen series. So again, this is a 5-star series for me. The first 4 books are all a 5 stars. Unfortunately, the 5th book, Taming 7, is not quite a 5-star read for me. I'm mad about it too, don't blame me. But these are like a interlinking series. Each book kind of follows a different couple. So the first 2 books follow Johnny and Shannon, then the next 2 books follow Joy, who is Shannon's brother, and Aoife. They all sort of take place in this town in Ireland. They all go to the same school, and that's how they meet. There's a lot of deep issues, trauma, everything like that. So again, check the trigger warnings before going into this one, because there are some pretty heavy topics. But I don't know what it is about this series, just the way that it's written, the characters, everything about it, I love so much, and I can't wait for more books to come out. Like, oh my god, I would die if I got an arc of the next book. Like, that is the dream, honestly. Another series, I have 2 of the Chestnut Springs books by Elsie Silver. So I have Heartless and I have Reckless. So the Chestnut Springs series basically follows a family, some brothers, the Eaton brothers. They are cowboys raised on a ranch. So there's 3 of them, but then you get 2 books that are kind of like honorary Eaton brothers. There's cowboys, there's bull riders, there's found family, and I love the series as a whole. But again, the only 2 books that I rated 5 stars were these 2. This book we have Cade and Willa. Cade is just, oh my god. And Willa, she is my favourite female main character out of this series. So I loved this one. Single dad, nanny, obsessed. Then this one, oh my god, I don't even know where to start, because I would not have thought that I loved this book as much as I did. It has tropes that I feel like I didn't know that I really liked, and I feel like are quite controversial in the book community, but I loved this. Theo Silver, what a man. Oh my days. Love him. Everything about this was perfection. I feel like Winter, I kind of related to her, and the way that like the trope was done, the way that their relationship started, and like I say, Theo, literally insane. Similar sort of vibes with the trope that I did not expect to like but ended up loving the book. We have Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. So this is a surprise pregnancy, unplanned pregnancy trope. We follow Bo and Win, and this book, oh my god, I did not expect to love this as much as I did. This one for me was just so much more than a typical romance, in the sense that it put a spotlight on disabilities and just the way that it did certain tropes, and the emotional intelligence in this book was insane. I feel like this trope is one that's hard to do right, but this book really centered around like their friendship and being parents first before just jumping into a romance, and I absolutely loved it. Like, Just everything in this book was done perfectly for me. Okay, then I've got 2 Abby Jimenez books. So I have Yours Truly and Just for the Summer. Yours Truly follows Brianna and Jacob, and I just feel like at the time that I read this, well, not even at the time that I read this, I still love this now, but Jacob for me is, oh my god, he is perfect. And like the anxiety sort of representation, showcasing like mental health struggles, everything like that. I love how Abby Jimenez can show like serious topics without being too heavy and still sort of doing it in like a light-hearted but not insensitive way. Similar sort of vibes, Just for the Summer. Oh, I ate this one up. If you are into like acts of service, golden retriever type vibes, you will love this, and probably all of Abby Jimenez books to be fair. But this one follows Emma and Justin, who meet on a Reddit thread, and then they end up obviously crossing paths in real life too. But just her writing style and the way that she writes couples and people falling in love and different life topics and struggles, I'm obsessed with. Then we've got Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I loved this book when I read this. I loved the enemies to lovers type vibe that we get from this one. It is very much sort of like Hunger Games-esque, but I didn't mind that. And like I say, I absolutely loved the tension, the angst, the sort of dagger at the throat type vibes. And this was done perfectly for me, but the second book was such a letdown that I don't even want to talk about it. Okay, and then another series that is one of my all-time favourites, one of my Roman Empire series, is Magnolia Parks. So again, it is a 5-star series like overall for me, but these are the books that I rated 5 stars. So we have Magnolia Parks A Long Way Home, Daisy Hates a Great Undoing, and Magnolia Parks Into the Dark. The best way that I would describe the Magnolia Parks series is it's like Gossip Girl, but in London. So you're following these rich English socialites that are all in this friendship group, and it's sort of like interconnected, very, very toxic, not a like lovey-dovey, perfect couple goals type relationship by any means. But oh my god, just the way that Jessa Hastings writes is incredible. The way that these couples sort of go through the struggles that they do and the character growth and everything, I am just obsessed. Magnolia Parks series itself is now finished, and I am so beyond happy with the conclusion, even though I am in fact a Julian girl, which does obviously take me on to Daisy Hates. This is probably my favourite book in the series as a whole. I loved this so much. Like I said, I am a Julian girl. This book and quotes in this book ripped my heart out, and I think about them all of the time. I cannot wait for the next Daisy book, but overall this series is just ingrained in my brain. I love it so much. Moving on to my Emily Henry books. So I only have 2 books by Emily Henry that I would rate 5 stars. The first one was Beach Read. I just love this. I think this is probably my favourite Emily Henry book, and I don't know what it is about this book. I do really need to go back and reread them, to be honest, now that I've read a few more of her books, to sort of decide on my final ranking. But this one follows January and Gus Everett was my like top book boyfriend for the longest time. I'm just obsessed with him. I loved the dynamic between these two. I loved the relationship. I was just obsessed with it. And then similar sort of vibe, Happy Place then came along, and it did rival it for a little bit as my favourite Emily Henry book. But Happy Place follows Wynne and Harriet, and they are basically, they were engaged, they split up, and they have to pretend to be engaged again because they're going on a group trip with their friends, and they don't want to tell the friends that they've split up. So it's kind of like a second chance, but you see them, like, they so clearly still love each other, but they've just got these issues that they couldn't quite work out. And it does have huge miscommunication, but the way that it was written in this book, I didn't mind it because it actually had like a purpose. Like, that was basically the whole purpose of the book and the split. So I can forgive it when Emily Henry does it, but oh my god, some of the quotes in this book, and like, you can just feel the way that they feel about each other. Like, I feel like nobody does that better than Emily Henry. So they are my top 2 Hen books. Then I have Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. This is again a fairly recent read. I read this in the summer and I absolutely loved this one. I don't really know how you would categorise this. Like, it is technically a romance, but it feels more, not coming of age, but more literary fiction. It has like deeper themes about being a parent, being a woman, life after divorce, finding yourself again, and oh my god, I just love this. There's quotes in here that I absolutely adore and even thinking about would probably make me cry. But this one really surprised me with how much I loved it, and I am desperate to read more Annabelle Monaghan books because of this one and how much I adored it. Okay, coming to the end now. So two that I absolutely love, one of my all-time favourite authors, are Beartown and Us Against You, which are technically both in the same Beartown series by Fredrik Backman. He is one of my favourite authors. Yes, these are the only two books that I've read by him, but I just love his writing style. I love how he writes characters. I love how they are basically like character studies, but I adore them so much. And I think the way that he tells the story and focuses like on the townspeople and everything like that, I'm obsessed with, and I would forever recommend these books. I'm obsessed and I cannot wait to read more of his work. Okay guys, then the last one that I have, it is another series, and that is the Addicted Calloway series. But these, again, it's a 5-star series, but these are the books that I've rated an actual 5 stars individually. So we have Addicted After All, Kiss the Sky, Fuel the Fire, Long Way Down, and then Some Kind of Perfect. Yes, it annoys me that they are all different sizes and different materials, but it is what it is. I paid a ridiculous amount of money to have these books shipped from God knows where. I think they came from Australia actually, because I was so impatient and could not wait for these covers to be out in the UK. But anyway, this is again another series where it's kind of like a character study sort of series, which are my favourite. I discovered last year. So like Magnolia Parks, Beartown, the Addicted Calloway series, Boys of Tommen, all of those I feel like fall under a similar sort of category and a similar sort of trope, in that they are so incredibly character focused, but you just learn to love them. Like, you fall in love with the characters, you fall in love with the way that they interact, and like just the series as a whole. But going back to this, it focuses on 3 sisters, Lily, Rose and Daisy, and each girl, each sister gets her own book, and it follows sort of like their love interests. But you have like addiction issues, you have all these different things that they are navigating, and I absolutely loved it. I really want to go back and reread them, because the feeling that I got when I read these books for the first time, like I can't explain it. I just love them so much, and every time I see somebody talk about them or that they are reading the books for the first time, like I'm just so incredibly jealous, because you just had to be there, you just had to be there. But guys, that rounds up every single book that I've rated 5 stars in the last few years, if being technical, because I can't remember prior to that. Let me know if you want me to do a video rereading them so we can see if they are still my 5 stars, and let me know which one you rated 5 stars, which ones you didn't like actually, because I do find that quite interesting. But thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.